Welcome back, everyone, to the Founders Only podcast. Today, I am so excited to welcome Jhana Li.
Hi.
Jhana started as a COO for multiple startups while simultaneously traveling full-time in a converted van through North and South America. We'll definitely be talking about that. After seeing countless founders stall out and trap themselves without the proper operations, Jhana decided to start her own company, Spyglass Ops, 3 years ago. Since then, she has helped over 100 businesses scale past 7 and 8 figures. And through operations consulting, recruitment, and training, Spyglass Ops empowers founders to simultaneously scale their businesses while regaining their personal freedom. Welcome again.
Thanks, Mia. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you. So let's start with, can you share your journey to becoming the founder of Spyglass Ops?
Yeah. So you alluded to it a little bit in the bio there, but I was living full-time in a van. I was traveling. I was working odd remote jobs to make that happen. And I was traveling with a boyfriend at the time, and he was starting a digital marketing agency. And so I was watching him wrestle with entrepreneurship and figure out how to grow and scale his business and learn all of these tough lessons. And, you talk things through, you try and help out. And through a series of kind of odd events, I stepped into his team for what was supposed to be like 30 days, fill in for someone in and out. And I ultimately became that company's COO. When I stepped into the business, what became very clear to me is that the things that I was naturally drawn to and the things that I naturally saw as being bottlenecks or issues within the company were things that, like, not only did he not really care about them, he just wasn't aware of them at all, right? A merchant processing system that was costing him $50,000 a month and had been for months, and it had just gone totally unnoticed because that's not where his attention was. And so it was a really interesting moment for me to realize that it felt very intuitive, very natural to me, and I was seeing all these problems. And so I just started to fix them. I just started to clean them up. I didn't even know what I was doing, but I learned that there is a word for that, and that is operations. And so that was my very first COO role. I then became COO for a coaching program, and I was the operations coach within this program. And that was really the big unlock for me because I got hundreds and hundreds of businesses bringing me their operational problems, and I got to learn very quickly what the common problems are, what the common pathways to success and true sustainable scale are. And that was the big unlock that motivated me and made me feel like I had enough data, enough knowledge to go start my own company now 3.5 years ago. And I haven't looked back. I absolutely love it.
How exciting. I love that. And I love how this is whirlwind romance.
Totally. Me and operations for sure. The guy and I didn't work out, but me and operations have been strong,
Yes. So now let's go back to childhood. Who was Jhana before entrepreneurship? And I know you said the entrepreneurship is new, but let's go back to before college and maybe college, but who?
Okay. I always say that I wouldn't be friends with my younger self. Through all of grade school, I was pretty tightly wound, I think would be a nice way of saying it. Like Hermione Granger was my spirit animal, you know what I mean? I was just that really pushy, know-it-all, workaholics, straight A student. And I didn't have a lot of fun, but what I was really good at was learning. And I was really good at playing the game. The game was school, and I was really good at playing it. And then in college, the important transformation that took place is that I learned that you could still have fun and also be an overachiever, right? And I didn't know that you could also play. I didn't know you could also have fun and a personality and also still be smart. And so that was a really important lesson because that kind of diverted my personal life. My personal life is now characterized by travel and living in a van, and I'm a huge outdoor recreation, enthusiast. So I'm rock climbing and I'm skiing and I'm backpacking all the time. And I don't think those things would have happened if I hadn't understood that there's more to life than just working really hard and getting the A on the test. And that was a really important lesson for me to learn. I think entrepreneurship has so few rules that my younger Jhana self would have had a really hard time grappling with all of that uncertainty and all of that change.
So that leads me into the question, what actually helped you in that?
Mm.
Actually transitioning your personality,
Mhm.
what was that catalyst for that?
Uh, I I went to a school that really celebrated work life and like work play balance. And I had a group of friends in college who were the smartest kids in the grade, but also were laughing the hardest, were the rowdiest, were, like, I don't know, I probably shouldn't say this on a podcast, but, like running through the quad naked and breaking onto roofs, like we were just having the most fun, but we were also the people who took our studies the most seriously. And so I think I just needed to see it, right? Like as with so many things, I needed to see it to believe that it was even possible, because in my brain, these were two diametrically opposed ways of being, and I didn't see how they could fit together.
And where are you from? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Colorado.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what about your parents? Were they in, what did they do for a living?
Yeah, so I grew up in, I should say I grew in up in the mountains of Colorado. So I grew up as like a barefoot wild child, which I know is like at odds with my now, like I'm painting a really weird picture of like barefoot running through the forest,
It's a
but
fun
then
picture.
like sits down, reads a book, nobody talks to me, I need to get an A on this test. So I think the seeds, for that kind of adventurous wild spirit were always there just based off of my upbringing. And my parents were just like old school hippies. My mom was a yoga teacher. My dad was a doctor who like studied acupuncture and massage therapy and these sorts of things. And so it was a very like East West blended kind of household.
Totally cool.
Yeah.
So, looking back on your journey so far as a founder, what would you say is your greatest accomplishment or lesson you learned, and why?
The greatest accomplishments I'm always the most proud of are human transformations. And I would say, if we're being honest, I am most proud of how I have transformed as a founder. And I can think of a couple of really key moments and examples here of just like, I believe as founders that our businesses are reflections of ourselves. And your business will only ever grow as fast as you do. And so there have been really critical moments, even last year, where I had the choice to either level up, or last year, as a distinct example, I was going to have to downsize my business. And like those two things were in direct opposition with each other. Either I change, I break through, I become a new version of me, I like adopt a new identity, or I will lose my business. And I love that about entrepreneurship. Like it's so brutal. Oh my God. But I love
Love that.
it because I always say that I just get paid to become a better person. What a cool gift. What a cool gift my business gives me every day. And it gives me all this data every day about how I have to change next. And I get to be in this dance and I get to be in this personal development journey for my entire life because I've created this vehicle that will literally never let me off the hook.
Mm.
And yeah, I choose that and I'm grateful for that.
Well, I love that perspective very, very much.
Yeah.
What would you say so far has been the greatest lesson?
Greatest lesson.
Or was that the greatest lesson?
It's a big one. It's a big one for sure. Um, yeah, I think most fundamentally that is the greatest lesson, right? Like if there's something not going well in your business, how can you treat your business as a mirror that is just offering you data, right? I think the biggest lesson that I've had to learn is to reinterpret the things that are happening in my company, not as good, not as bad, just neutral. They're just data. I get to then interpret the data and make it mean something. And if I'm always willing to interpret the data as, what does this mean about me? And where do I have room for growth? Then even the worst things happening in my business, the worst days, are just data that's offering me an opportunity. And so I think that reframe was a really important like mindset piece for me, because otherwise there's just so many terrible things that happen all the time. It's exhausting. Like I probably wouldn't be an entrepreneur if I interpreted negative things that happen as actually bad, because there are just too many of them, and who would choose to live in that world?
That's a golden nugget, you guys. Make sure you write that one down. That is, love how you've just framed that and that perspective of looking at the experience gratefully,
Mhm.
but also agnostic almost emotionally. Take
Yes.
the emotion out of it, be
Yep.
objective, look at
Yep.
the data, and look at the data from a technical perspective and a personal slash professional growth perspective for the leader. I love it. Love it, love it, love it.
Yeah.
What has been your biggest challenge in communicating Spyglass Ops' unique value proposition to potential clients, especially when many founders don't realize that they need operational support?
There it is. That's the one. Yeah, you nailed it. The hardest part of my job is that I'm a broccoli salesman, right? And also, people don't know what a vegetable is. Like, they don't know what it is, don't know why they need it, don't know why it's going to help their company grow. And more specifically, I think they don't understand that the problems they're experiencing in their business are a result of operations, right? So, like, what they are seeing is, revenue is down. Okay, I need more sales, I need more marketing. But my salespeople keep leaving. My marketing team is making the wrong decisions. I keep getting like sucked back in. Every time I grow, I get sucked back into the day to day. So I can't grow as hard as I want to, right? Those are operational problems, but they look like marketing problems. They look like sales problems. And so the hardest part for us is problem awareness in our market, let alone solution awareness, but problem awareness. Are the things that you're experiencing in your business actually sales, marketing, or are you attacking the wrong problem? And because you don't know what operations is or what a lack of operations looks like, you can't correctly diagnose that that's what's actually happening and that we're actually the best expert to help you grow to the next level. And so the challenge with it, Mia, is that generally it takes people to getting to the 11th hour, meaning they're working 80-hour weeks, they're fully burnt out, their team is coming to them for everything, their clients are on fire all the time, they're so frustrated, they're so exhausted, they can't grow, they haven't grown for 6 months, right? Like, they're at just like they're the end of the rope. And then they're like, so operations, tell me about it. And that's so painful for me because we could have done such incredible work for that person 6 to 12 months earlier that would have completely just made all of that go away. It would have just gone away. It's totally unnecessary. You never have to feel like that in your business, ever. And yet that's most of the time when people find us, because that's when they finally become problem aware enough, solution aware enough that they're willing to seek us out.
So, how do you specifically for Spyglass Ops? What tools, resources, what process did you build for yourself to communicate that value proposition of Spyglass Ops and why or how it takes prospects from potentially problem aware to fully problem aware and solution aware? But by the way, we're the best person to do the job for you.
Yeah. So what we did for this is we built an audit. So our audit, it takes a week. And we've priced it low enough that it's pretty easy for people to get started working with us. And the audit is where my team of fractional COOs will come into the business. They will look at your systems, your meetings. They'll interview your team. They will interview you. They'll look at your org chart, your data, your P&L, the whole thing. And then we produce a 12-month operational roadmap that essentially tells the client, hey, you told us, whatever, your goal is to double your revenue this year. Cool. Here is a 12-month step-by-step roadmap of exactly what needs to happen in your business operationally in order to make that happen. So we tell them the problem, and then we tell them the solution, which is, here's the roadmap. If you want to take it, run with it, by all means, you can. But if you would like our support with that, here's what that would look like. And normally the solution that we have to make them aware of is, hey, you're actually missing a key role here. And the role is operator, right? An ops manager, a head of ops, that may be a COO if they're large enough. You either have somebody in this role who is not able to do the job currently, and we have to identify whether they can grow and level up or whether they're no longer the right fit, or you don't have this person at all. And we can go out, we can recruit that person for you. But we have to help them understand why the solution to their problems is not a how, but a who, and making sure that they understand who that person is and then we can help them find that person if needed.
Excellent. Excellent. Content is generally the cornerstone of building a business these days in some way.
Sure.
Right? And it's often about storytelling. Still, even with AI and other things coming onto the forefront, it's still really about storytelling and connecting. So how do you ensure your brand's voice stays authentic and relatable as you scale Spyglass Ops?
Great question. So I actually just brought in a content manager. She's wrapping up our brand revamp right now. I'm thrilled. So for me, my solution, this is an interesting one. My solution always is delegate as much as possible, guys. Like if you're really serious about scaling and growing, your company needs to learn how to be able to run and operate without you. And so especially in the areas where you're not particularly strong, like brand is a great example of that for me, delegate. Find an incredible brand content manager who can understand you, right? Like the thing I can't delegate is that it's my freaking brand. It's personal brand. I can't delegate that out to somebody else and tell somebody else to tell me who to be. But I can say, hey, here's me. What do you need to know? And then apply your genius to this mess and tell me what needs, like what a brand characteristic or a brand guideline or whatever, a deliverable is going to come out of that, right? So I partner with the people on my team, and what I bring is nothing more and nothing less than the vision for the company and the personal brand that goes with it. Just me, right? Me as a human, who I be. That's what I can bring to the table. What they bring is everything else, the technical expertise required to do literally everything else in the business. And so I think brand is no exception to that. For me, it was about finding the right expert who could look at me, interview me, really understand me, but then convert that into something that's usable for the company.
Great, great. So let's talk about this a little bit more because I'm curious, how did you arrive at your vision and your mission and your values? Spyglass Ops.
The vision and mission came quickly to me because before I started the company, I had been coaching these people who then became my very first clients, and I saw how much pain they were in. I saw how hard they were working. I saw how frustrated they were with their businesses. I saw how much they were just like wrestling with trying to continue to grow, but instead they were just stagnating. I cared about these people. I worked with them for a long time. So their pain, I understood it so well. And I also saw how incredible these people were and how much potential to change the world they had locked inside them if they could figure out how to break through, if they could figure out how to get out of, frankly, their own way and become everything they were capable of becoming and bring all the impact that they could bring to the world. And so I knew how powerful operations could be in making the world a better place before I ever started my business. I started my business simply to do that more, to do it bigger, to do it more scalably, to do it for more companies. So the vision wrote itself. Like I actually don't think I would have started my company, Mia, if I didn't have the vision, right? I didn't start my company to make money. I didn't start my company to like do more operations. I've never done less operations in my life, right? I'm running a company. I started my company because I saw a genuine need and it hurt me. And I knew I could do something about it. And that became the vision, right? Same thing with core values, frankly, like, and you know, we have exercises where we walk clients through how to identify vision, mission, how to create core values. And it always, always, always has to come back to the founder, right? I have so many founders where like their core value is like integrity. And then they're telling me about how they're having to lie to a client. And I'm like, again, I'm just holding up the mirror here, dude. Like, not a core value. Your core values are true and authentic to you. They are core to you, right? And same with the vision. You can't make up a nice sounding vision, slap it on a website, and all of a sudden you're a purpose-based company. It has to come from you and something that you genuinely care about and believe in. And so I think if anybody is struggling with that, the solution is, again, look in the mirror, do the soul searching, and say, why did I start this freaking company? Yes, money, but like deeper than that, right? Go 5 layers deeper than that. And then maybe we're getting close to your mission statement. And when it comes to core values, I also recommend utilizing the people who are closest to you as a mirror and saying, hey, what is unique about me? Right? You love me. You're a friend. You're a family member. You love me. But why? You don't have to. Why? What is unique about me that you think is different about me than the average person? So what's really hard about this work is that none of us are particularly self-aware, right? You can't read the label from inside the jar. So generally, it's really helpful to get people outside of your jar to help you with identifying what's on the label.
Meet Brandy, your all-in-one content creation sidekick designed to make creating and managing your brand's content effortless. Let me show you how it works. Got a team? Bring them in. With Brandy, everyone can pitch in to create content that clicks. Managing multiple brands? Easily switch between profiles so you're always ready for the next project. The Brand Voice Analyzer ensures your content always sounds like you. Stuck on where to start? Check out our handy prompt templates. They're like creative jumpstarts to get things moving. Every edit, every version saved. With content revision history, nothing gets lost, and you can always pick up right where you left off. Everything your brand needs, it's all right here in your brand asset library. Stay organized like a pro with custom folders for every project. No more hunting for that one file. Brandy does too, and is ready to help you connect. Or in any language, really. Speak to your audience in the words they know best. Need ideas or have questions? Just ask Brandy. Save time with custom snippets. Your most used phrases, always handy when you need them. Keep your notes, links, and ideas in one spot, so you're never hunting for that one piece of inspiration. Get personalized content tips and SEO strategies to help your brand stand out online. Join Brandy today and make your content creation smarter, faster, and better. Let's create something amazing.
Thank you, Jhana, for that wonderful explanation. I absolutely love it. I have nothing to add. That is great. So what are the most common operational bottlenecks you see preventing founders from scaling?
Yes, great question. So there are statistically 4, and we know this because we've run these audits so many times that we actually, like 90% of clients have these top 4 bottlenecks, and they are the same all the time. So you can just cut me off at whatever point you want me to stop. Like 1, 2, 3, however many you want to do.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
All right, let's freaking do it. All right, here we go. So the first one is the founder's time. The time is a huge bottleneck, right? If you are so stuck working in your business that you cannot work on your business, then your time is the bottleneck that will prevent everything else. I could tell you exactly what to do in your company to fix it, but if you have no time to then go do that, it will not matter. So we start with a time audit for our clients, and we help build a game plan that's going to get them first 3, then 5, then 10, then 20 hours a week back over the next few months, because we need to free up their time before anything else is possible. And so that, I think, is the first major bottleneck that we see time and time and time again. Once we have freed up their time, then what do we put that time to work at? The second thing is, I love that you brought up mission, vision, core values. The second thing is what we call like strategy and strategic vision. Fundamentally, what it boils down to is that 90% of our clients don't actually know either what do I want or how am I going to get there, which is fascinating. You would think that we would know that, but we really don't. What we know is that our buddy hit a record revenue month and now we want that much revenue. That's not strategy. That's not what you want. That's a totally arbitrary number that you've picked off a dartboard, and now you're putting your entire company's focus to chasing it. Not a strategy, right? So our job, again, holding up the mirror, is to help the founder go deeper with themselves and saying, what is actually important to me? Is it time with my friends and family? Is it the ability to travel? Is it that I do want to work 80 hours a week because I believe in this thing so much and I just want to work on the right things? What is important to you? What is the definition of success that you are building? Not anyone else, but you. What do you want? And then have we built a vehicle, a business that will get you that? And we see this all the time of a founder who wants a lifestyle business, but has built a company that requires an 80-hour work week. Why would you do that? Doesn't make any sense, right? So that is bottleneck number 2, is like being very, very clear that this is what I want, and then making sure that every damn decision that you make in your business reverse engineers and flows off of that so that you can actually get what you want, right? So that's bottleneck number 2. And the reason that it becomes such a huge bottleneck, Mia, is because number 1, if you don't know what, Alex Hormozi says this, a CEO that stands for nothing will go for anything. It makes decision-making very hard if you don't know what you want, because you'll just say yes to everything. And what that ultimately ends up doing is it's like trying to row your boat in 10 directions. You actually end up moving nowhere because your energy is spread so thin. So it actually stalls out your business. You will stop growing because you can't effectively say yes and say no to the right things. So that's strategic vision. The third one is generally leadership style. We've talked about this of like our businesses are reflections of ourselves. Generally, if your business has stopped growing, it's because you are not growing. And our job is to help you understand what your company needs from you as a CEO and a leader to grow next. We generally work with 7- and 8-figure businesses. And so for us, it really comes down to leadership. How are you showing up for your team? You say you want a lifestyle business, but you are a perpetual micromanager. Cool. We can make you aware of that, and we can give you the tools and the skills and the resources you need to work on that so that your company and your team can start to run without you, so you can get what you want, right? So generally, our clients will come to us with some level of frustration around how their team is underperforming or how their team is overly reliant on them. And again, always, that will come back to us very gently, but firmly, helping the CEO understand how that's actually their behavior that is creating that response from the team, not a, actual team of B players. Their team is great, but they're not leading them in such a way where their team is able to operate at their best. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's leadership style. And then the 4th most common one that we see is role clarity. Role clarity is, I always say, like, imagine playing backyard soccer with your family at a family reunion, right? It's like 2v2. It's you and your mom versus your brother and your dad. Like the goalpost is just like a shoe, and in 2v2 soccer, in backyard soccer, when the ball is on that side of the court, everyone's offense. When the ball is on this side of the court, everyone's defense. Everyone is playing every role on the field, and it's totally fine because we're in tiny backyard soccer. But then imagine trying to grow a soccer team that way to the level of the FIFA World Cup. Imagine the FIFA World Cup team trying to play backyard soccer, but on that size of a field where everyone is center forward and everyone is goalie and everyone runs all the way across the field every time the ball moves anywhere. And that's what happens in our companies. We start as 2v2, but then we grow and we scale a 10-person team without clarifying and restructuring the roles on the field. And what do we get? We get everybody chasing every ball, especially the founder. So if a founder is running around their company, reacting, trying to catch every ball every day, almost guaranteed it is because there is a lack of role clarity for them and for their entire team. Nobody knows what their roles are and nobody knows which balls are theirs. And so they can't work together as a team. They can only work together as a bunch of people chasing a ball.
I like that. So we've got, let's see, the first one was, oh my gosh,
I
forget.
I know, it was so long ago.
Time,
Founder's time.
strategic vision,
Yep.
leadership,
Yep.
role assignment, or clarity, role clarity.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So, one of the things that I've learned, that I've identified was like one of the most crucial moments in my business where I actually achieved that role clarity, if you will, and really helped with delegation and not needing to micromanage or check in on where the status of this project or that project was on a constant basis, was when I gave owned metrics to everybody in the company so that they knew exactly what key health metric they were not only responsible for reporting on a weekly basis, but also owning that metric and the performance of that metric. That really, really, really changed my business. So I think that role clarity is absolutely key. And I think also, just to go back to, your own vision for Spyglass Ops. And I have to say, as many people as I've talked to, very few have a clear idea of what their strategic vision is. Not only long term, but even short term. Like, what is it that I want for the next year?
Yes.
Something that I never did myself until this past year was when I started planning for the next year to simultaneously, or at least in the same session, outline what my goals were personally for the year,
Yes.
what my vision was for my life for the year.
Yes.
And then after clarifying that,
yes,
looking at what is my vision for the business, or what is the strategic plan for the next year, because how am I going to achieve that? And again, leveraging the business as this mechanism, as this tool, not only for personal growth, but also personal goal achievement.
Yes.
So I just wanted to tie that all back, because I feel like we're talking about all the same things that lead to this kind of pinnacle of unlocking operational, what would you call that? Operational
efficiency. Yeah, excellence, efficiency. Really excellent operations is efficiency in your business, right? That's the easiest way to measure it.
Totally. Yeah. So how can business owners set boundaries to prevent themselves from getting pulled back into the minutia of daily operations? And before you answer that, I definitely want to, I feel that it is so deeply connected to some of the things you just spoke on. I want to relate it back to that. I want to relate perhaps even all four criteria, because I can see how all four can directly cause a set of bottlenecks, or a single bottleneck 100%. For that founder to be too much in the weeds.
Yeah, it's a fantastic question. So there's actually only one person that you need to set boundaries with, and that's yourself. If you genuinely and truly set the boundaries with yourself, everything else, it's the craziest thing, everything else will start to shift around you, right? So we can link it back to all four of these bottlenecks, because it actually comes back to, very astutely, it's like the same root cause, which is, has the CEO set a clear set of constraints with themselves? So for example, how many hours a week do you want to work on your business? For some people it's 80, for some people it's 20. There's actually not a right answer. It actually all works. You want to work 20 hours a week? Okay. Are you actually going to? Or are you going to allow the scope creep and the client fires and the team questions and all the things creep in over the course of the week, every single week, and all of a sudden we're at 40, and then our company grows and we're at 50, and then our company grows and we're at 60, right? The only person that we haven't honored a boundary with, or set a boundary with, is ourselves. If we, honest to God, set a boundary that said 20 hours a week, what happens, the gift you give yourself, is that you create a forcing function. Okay, I only have 20 hours a week. How? How will I do this? It unlocks a whole new set of ideas, a whole new set of questions that need to be answered, a whole new set of skills, right? So the skill that needs to be learned is hiring and delegation and AI. It's a whole new set of skills than if you had 80 hours a week and you could get away with, I'll just figure it out myself and I'll just get in there and I'll just do it, right? So most CEOs that I know struggle to put constraints on ourselves because we don't like constraints. We don't like feeling boxed in. But actually what you're doing is you're offering yourself creative limits that you then need to innovate your way past. And it unlocks what entrepreneurs are uniquely good at, which is solving creative problems. So going back to, what do I want? And then being so unapologetic with yourself around that forces you to create a version of your business that will get you what you want, starting with your time and with your strategic vision. right? What do I want? I want to work with this client avatar. That's a boundary that I see CEOs violate all the time. Like, I know that this is my ideal avatar, but then there's this other person over here who wants to pay me money, so I will take it. You're not. That's not a boundary with your team. It's not a boundary with the client. That is a boundary with yourself. You took the money, even though you know that they are not the right fit for your best service. Why did you do that? Right? So when it comes to boundary setting, when you become ironclad in the version of the business that you're creating, it forces you to then hire different people, lead them differently, work with different clients, find different marketing solutions that will tap into, the corners of the internet where your ideal client avatar lives. It becomes an unlock that everything else will pivot itself around. But what doesn't work is saying that I want this, but the continuously taking action that pulls you away from it and violates your own boundaries with yourself.
I read a book not long ago. I just can't remember the name of it, of course. But it was, the premise of the book was to set a 1 month off, to plan a month off in 18 months.
Okay.
I think it was called systematology. Or systemology.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Anyway, so I set this goal about almost 18 months ago, actually.
Ooh. So you got the trip coming up? Where are you going?
I don't know, because so I don't know if I'm going to take a trip, because the exercise was really the priceless part of it.
Right. Yes.
Exercise of preparing
Right.
to take a month off. Now,
Right.
if you love what you do, maybe you don't want to take a month off.
Totally. But you could.
But you could.
And that's what
I remember what actually prompted me. So it was not actually, it must have been over a year and a half ago when I read or around a year and a half ago when I read this book. Not as recent as I thought, but I remember when I read the book, I had recently taken a trip to Bali, and I was on vacation for about a week and a half. And although I hadn't planned to be on vacation, like truly, I had taken my laptop, I was excited to work. But then when I arrived, I really understood I'm on a whole nother time zone. I can't really help my team that much.
Yeah.
And they completely adjusted without me telling them. And because they couldn't reach me except for a very short period of time of the day, that changed the questions that they were asking, what they brought to me. And so when I returned, and it went right back into the old way of doing things.
Yes.
That's when I said, okay, so this is completely possible.
Yes.
But I have to put in the systems and the boundaries to actually lock that in mentally.
Yes.
In each person's mind that actually, no, you can do this. And by the way, what is the decision framework that we used while Mia was 15,000 miles away?
Right.
What was that decision-making process that you watched her use and that she walked you through? And how can you own that decision-making process moving forward? Because really, you knew what you needed to know.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So as someone who bans fault and blame, and when I read this, my heart skipped a beat. I said, this lady is my spirit animal. Okay. So as someone who bans fault and blame from your vocabulary, how do you reframe challenges into creative problem solving and opportunities?
Yes. So own your opportunities is one of the core values. It's one of my personal core values. It's one of the core values of the company. And I describe it to new team members on the very first day when they join the company. I walk them through the core values and I describe it like this. Own your opportunities means, by all means, own your successes, own your wins, own your skills, own the things that you bring to this business. Take absolute ownership for them, and I will always celebrate you for what you achieve. But where the rubber really meets the road is when things are not going well, Owning your opportunities means own your mistakes, own your failures, own your challenges, own the questions that you don't have the answer to. Because when these things happen, when the ball gets dropped, we have a choice. We can point a finger at somebody else, or we can point the finger at ourselves. And everything lies in that choice. Because if you choose to blame someone else, all you are doing is robbing yourself of the opportunity to change the situation. Because you can't control anyone other than yourself. Versus if the ball gets dropped and you're like, yep, that was mine, grabs it, picks it up, even in the tiniest little way you contributed to that problem, and you get in there and you take ownership for as much of it as possible, what you're giving yourself is the opportunity to fix the situation and the opportunity to learn and grow from the situation. And so I tell my team on day one, the two words I do not want to hear ever are fault and blame. Because I literally don't see the point. It robs us of an opportunity to grow, and it slows us down as a business. So while our competitors are out there pointing fingers at each other and wasting time, not growing and learning, when mistakes happen, and this is such an important part of the frame, I expect mistakes to happen. I welcome mistakes. It means we're learning. So when mistakes happen, the entire team is going to look at that, pick it apart, see how much ownership every single person can take, what that does for our ability to learn and grow from it, and then we keep moving. And in that way, our failures become our accelerators, and it becomes a competitive advantage that allows our company to grow and move faster. So that is how I talk about the core value.
I love that. And that makes me think of how important self-awareness is in individuals before you hire them. It's one characteristic, a personality characteristic, which people surely evolve into. I feel that, this is something that just
have to work on it.
Time and maturity. You don't have to be a certain age for sure. But it is something that I think a lot of people don't necessarily learn growing up. And they a lot of times learn it in the workplace, unfortunately. But totally agree with the concept of ownership across the board and focusing on when the problems arise, focusing on the what, not the who.
Yes.
The who just doesn't fix the problem. It means nothing.
Nope. Doesn't actually matter. Doesn't actually matter at all.
What is the one problem that we're trying to solve right now?
Yeah.
Totally love that. Okay. So what advice would you give to the next generation of female leaders who are breaking into business, period?
Trust yourself. And I know that is so, let me do better than that. In my experience, the greatest gap, the thing that has held me back the most is making decisions based off of other people's expectations of me, based off of what I thought I should do, based off of what I thought I should want. And the biggest skill I had to learn was to listen to myself. I know what I want. I've always known. That doesn't mean I do it. I know how I feel about a situation, and I know what I believe the right course of action to be is. Doesn't mean I always do it. I had to learn, and I still do, build the muscle to truly check in with myself, to truly listen to myself. And then the much harder step, then actually follow through and honor myself and trust myself enough to say, actually, I'm going to choose option A. Even though the 10-year senior white dude is telling me that this is the way to go and this is absolutely how we need to do it, honey. Nope. Right? Like, I got me and I trust me. And it's a really hard muscle to build. I had to build it in small ways. I had to build it over like, do I want coffee or tea this morning? I had to tell my boyfriend to shut up and not answer that question for 5 minutes so I could sit there, because sometimes it took 5 minutes for me to just sit there and be like, what the fuck do I want to drink this morning? That's how bad it was. That's how out of touch with myself I was. I would just be like, whatever you want, babe, right? So I had to learn. I had to learn to listen to myself, and then I had to learn to trust myself, and I had to give myself enough at-bats of like, I want tea, and then I drink the tea. Oh, and the tea makes me so happy. The tea is exactly what I wanted. The tea feels fantastic. That's how it feels when I do what I want, right? And I had to run that loop 10,000 times in small decisions before I ever felt brave enough to start with bigger decisions, and then bigger decisions. And now I run an entire company off of it. And so I think that is where women in general shoot ourselves in the foot. It's not that we can't get what we want. It's that we actively act out of alignment with ourselves. And we can point fingers all we want at the patriarchy or men or our boyfriends or whatever reason you have that you're that way. But owning your opportunity means recognizing that you are that way and you have the opportunity to be and do different, and training that until you are your own person.
I love it. And I feel that to take it to that next step, because for me, a lot of the things you just spoke at in terms of finding or figuring out what you want and taking action, what I've struggled with the most is speaking up.
Mm-hmm.
I have not had much of a struggle. I've always been a doer. I've always been a creative problem solver. I've always been in touch with my intuition and know when I don't feel right, but I've silenced myself so many times trying to protect other people's feelings, or do what I think someone else wants me to do. And I don't speak up to articulate how I actually am being made to feel, what I'm actually observing, and what I want.
Yep.
And I think that could generally come from the plight of a woman. I hate to call it that, but we are so trained to not speak up.
Yeah.
Generally. Some households are different and they encourage young women to speak up, but that's not generally generationally, or
it's not what we're rewarded for
not the common,
as a sex.
Sure.
So I am actually just finishing a book on this exact topic. So for anybody where this is kind of hitting, the book, and it's phenomenal, I would recommend, is called Unbound by Kasia Urbaniak. It's A Woman's Guide to Power. And Kasia Urbaniak is she is like a Taoist martial artist who paid for her martial arts training by being one of the highest paid dominatrix in New York. And so it is her whole philosophy on what is power, what are the energetics of power. And one of the lines from the book that I absolutely love is like, we always go on and on about how entitled men are and how they always get what they want. It's not that men are more entitled to get what they want than women. It's that men feel fundamentally entitled to ask.
Absolutely.
And we can do that. You can ask. That doesn't mean you always get what you want. You are not entitled to get everything that you want, but you are entitled to ask if you are clear enough on this is what I want and this is why I'm deserving of it.
Jhana took us to church, y'all.
Guys, go read that book. Literally.
Oh, love it.
Oh my God. It makes you want to like punch walls and fucking fly. Like, it's incredible.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like that is going to be the first audiobook that I listen to. I've never listened to an audiobook.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
And I feel like that is the audiobook.
Yep.
Where can people find you on social media, Jhana?
Yeah, the best way is Instagram at the Jhana Li. And I drop all of my best stuff there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. Thanks everyone for joining us today. And I absolutely love this episode. I hope you do as well. But bye-bye. See you next time.